IGS grounds, and standing behind me is the prestigious building of K-Block. K-Block is home to a range of economists, from our young budding students to the more knowledgeable and advanced economists, and Mr Pemberton and Mr Handley. However, today myself, Con, Jack and Ollie will be telling you how we think the budget will affect the UK economy in the future, in the short term, the middle term and the long term. Welcome to K-Block. Welcome to K2, where Con's going to tell you about unemployment.
Thank you, Ellie. Right. Now, as a direct result of the Chancellor's budget last month, can you believe it was a whole month ago, 650,000 public sector workers are going to be made unemployed. I'll write that down for you. 650,000. That's a really big number. And in the private sector, that just would not be acceptable. Chancellor George Osborne has been very unimaginative in how to cut money. You don't need to take away someone's job to save money. We could have 3-day weeks. Or, to save back on money, rather than sacking one person and keeping one person, you could keep them both in a job share, just like Mrs Halliwell and Ms Nichol do so well in K-Block. Right, he could also have done a pay freeze, much like they did in BA. Now, this has been instigated to some public sector workers, for example teachers, who will not see a pay rise for at least 3 years. But he could have asked workers to voluntarily take a month's unpaid leave or to be working without pay for a month, just as they did in BA. Even Willie Walsh, their chief executive, did that. Why can't David Cameron and the Cabinet work for free for a month? I don't know. Now, it's also a very unfair budget, and we will hear more about that later when Ollie talks to you. But the main thing that I'm going to talk about is the housing benefit has been frozen, which means that there will be a real term cut over 3 years where inflation is predicted to be between 2 and 3%, as Jack will tell you later on. This could force people to become living on the streets and without a home, which is not an ideal situation. And finally, I will say that the Chancellor should have taken more effort, put more efforts in to stop unemployment. Being unemployed means that you are out of a job, you are actively seeking a job, and you are ready to start a new job within 2 weeks. And there are a lot of graduates out there, people with degrees, who haven't got jobs. Now, why can't they work in McDonald's? I don't know why. It could be just a stop job, but it would work. They could work in a garage or anywhere. Back to Ellie.
The new budget concentrates on mainly cutting the deficit. There's a general decrease in government spending and a general increase in taxation. For example, cutting housing benefit by 10% for the unemployed once they have claimed job seekers allowance for more than 12 months. On the other hand, there is a general increase in taxation. For example, the top rate VAT has been increased from 17% to 20%. Therefore, there has been a general increase in government revenue. By cutting the budget deficit, it helps the UK to maintain their AAA rating. This means that they have more ability to repay any borrowed money. Therefore, this boosts consumer confidence in the UK. Investors are more likely to buy the pound than they were before if they can maintain their AAA rating. As consumer confidence increases and investors are more likely to buy the pound, demand will shift from D1 to D2. This creates a new equilibrium at B, where the price of pound in terms of the euro increases from P1 to P2 and quantity from Q1 to Q2. Also, with countries such as Greece, Spain and Italy in more unstable positions than the UK, with great national debt, the deterioration of their economies could mean investors are more likely to buy the pound rather than the euro. This furthers an increase in demand in the future. Overall, the pound should appreciate against other countries as consumer confidence increases. However, the extent of the appreciation depends on the situation of other countries' economy. If European countries continue to deteriorate, it is likely that the pound will further appreciate. However, to maintain consumer confidence, the ability to keep the AAA rating needs to be sustainable in order for the pound to stay strong. Against other countries' currencies due to the budget cutting debt and boosting confidence, it may have a negative effect on the balance of payments. Imports will appear cheaper to British consumers, therefore demand is likely to rise and imports should increase. Simultaneously, due to a strong pound, exports will appear more expensive to consumers in other countries, and demand is likely to fall for the export industry. If this effect continues, which is likely, then the UK could run a risk of the value of imports exceeding the value of exports, and as a result, in the current account will be in deficit. As people experience a short-term boost of standard of living and consume more imports, it has a disadvantage on the current account. Because the current account and financial account should balance, if the current account is in a deficit, then the financial account must be in a surplus. Therefore, the UK must be borrowing more money to fund the balance of payments, which then contradicts the aim of reducing the deficit in the UK. Also, as exports fall as prices rise, the chance of any export-led growth will be minimised, and manufacturing export industries will suffer as demand falls. This could cause unemployment. If the balance of payments deteriorates further, it will contribute to more unemployment due to falling export industry, which has more pressure on the budget. Also, worsening the deficit as financial account is in surplus, which contradicts the aim of the budget, and the UK may have to borrow more money to fund the balance of payments. Thank you. And now Ollie's here in K2, and he's going to talk about whether the budget 2010 has been fair for everyone.
So, with Nick Clegg and David Cameron promising for a fairer Britain for the future, we can ask whether their 2010 budget is fair for everyone. So, for example, with VAT, a regressive tax, rising to 20%, we can clearly see that this will affect people most on lower incomes. Also, with national insurance rising to £21 per week, we can see that this will take a larger proportion of people's incomes, especially with people on lower incomes. However, it's not all bad news, as the budget says that it will raise personal income tax allowance from £1,000 to £7,475. This will mean that people with low incomes will get less tax or no tax, and it's estimated there will be 880,000 people with no income tax at all. So overall, we can see that this budget isn't really that fair for people on low incomes.